Hello, welcome. It's Liz from West Star Tarot, and today I'm doing my favorites or review or recap of the month of May. And as I was kind of thinking about things, I thought, ooh, well, May was way quieter than April. And then I started thinking about all the things that happened in May, and I was like, oh, really, was it? So it was maybe quieter because it was active in a different way. I really didn't do any traveling, but May for me is a really busy month because it's when I really am out in the garden getting all the plants situated, the annuals, the things I grow by seeds, making sure the perennials are all coming up all right. And so that takes a lot of time. And so I was doing a lot of yard work. And I noticed that I'm not 25 anymore. So, I used to be able to go out and do 4, 5, 6 hours of yard work, boom, in a day. And now I can't do that anymore. So I have to go out and do an hour or so. And then I start to feel a little ooh. And so I come in and I rest, have a little cup of tea and, rejuvenate, maybe do a tarot reading, or whatever. And then, an hour or so later, I go back out. So when we first moved into this house now, 20 years ago, our next door neighbors were probably the age that I am now. So that was 20 years ago, maybe a little bit older than I am now. And the husband was Al. And he did all his own yard work, shoveling, mowing, gardening, pruning. I mean, I can remember looking out and seeing him up on a ladder pruning a tree when he was like 90. And I would be like, oh my God, Al. And I would run out and see if he needed, oh no, Liz, I'm fine. Anyway, from Al, I noticed, because I watched him as he went from like 75 to 95, still doing his own yard work. I noticed Al would go out and do a half an hour or an hour, and then he'd go back in. And then an hour or two later, he'd come back out. And so now I remember and I say, all right, I have to channel Al when I'm doing my yard work. I can't do 6 hours at a whack anymore. Not going to happen. So I do an hour rest, and you know what? Stuff gets done. So that was a little side journey. So I thought I would start with reading. I read a bunch of mystery books. I am still working on Susan Chang's 36 Secrets, the Deccan Walk book. And I'm just reading that as I go through each decan. So I'm not going to sit down and read the whole book. It's going to take me a year to read that book. Which is great because it's really dense and meaty and has a lot of information. So I think I'm going to get a lot more out of it by reading it with each decan. And I'm still using the Corinne Kenner book, but I find that, we spiral in our learning and in our journey. And last year was my first journey through the decans, and Corinne's book was good for that. But then I noticed this year I want something with a little more, a little denser. And so when I was at the Reader Studio Tarot Conference in the end of April, Susan Chang was there. And so I thought, you know what? Perfect time. I bought the book right from her. So it's really good. Very esoteric. She's brilliant. And I'm enjoying that. And I'm enjoying going through the decans second time around. We just moved into Gemini 2, Nine of Swords. And today it's my sister's birthday, and I'm like, oh, I hate to tell you, honey, but you're the 9 of Swords on your birthday. I probably won't mention it. But anyway, so that's the Decans, and I'm still working on those books. I listened to in my car, I just want to make sure I get the title right, a book by, here's my little handy dandy notebook where I write down the books I've been reading. This book was called Bitch by Lucy Cook, and the subtitle is On the Female of the Species. Really interesting book. She's a biologist or a zoologist or some kind of scientist, and so as she was doing her research and going to school and so forth, she noticed that a lot of the scientific studies and work and attitudes and ideas were rather misogynistic. And in the Darwinian age, so during the Victorian era, they sort of looked, well, the culture mirrored the attitude, the scientific attitude, and then they mirrored the scientific findings back onto the culture. So, they looked at the woman, the female of the species. And in the beginning of the book, Lucy does a really nice job of talking about how we don't really see gender expression so much in animals other than humans. And she said, she's going to use the terms male and female, and specifically related to their reproductive capacities. So that's how I'll be using them too. So the female of the species was thought to be docile and passive and even chaste. And the male was aggressive and, never sexually satisfied and, wanting to impregnate multiple females and, that kind of attitude. And so Lucy interviewed a lot of women presenting as women scientists. They talked about how they were first treated in the scientific community by the establishment, which was more male, and how they really found flaws in the status quo scientific ideas around sexuality, and then therefore certain characteristics and traits that were applied to males and females. So it was really an interesting book, and I recommend checking it out. So that was my nonfiction along with the Decan book. And I'm still also using Charlie Claire Burgess' Radical Tarot as I'm going through the major arcana. And in May, I filmed the Chariot and Strength. And today, later on today, I'm going to do the Hermit. And then I think I'll be caught up on that. So that is that. I enrolled in a class called Intuitive Plant Medicine. It's an 8-week course, and it's about obviously plants and healing, but it's about magic and plant spirit medicine, and it's really interesting. The reason that there were multiple reasons why I enrolled in it, but in May I started up doing sacred circles again with my friend Grace, who owns a yoga studio in Plymouth, Mass, about 30 minutes north of where I live. And we had been doing these circles prior to the pandemic. And then once the pandemic hit, we couldn't do them anymore. So a few months ago, I just got this urge and this message that it's time to start them up again. So I reached out to Grace, and she said, yes, absolutely, people want this. So we started on May 10th. We called it a Beltane Circle. We were a little bit late, but flexibility there. And we thought there were going to be like 4 people, plus us, so 6 people. And, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to do this. If there's 2 people, I don't care. I need to do this. This is needed in the world. I want to build community. I want to create sacred space. I want to bring women into the sacred circle and do all kinds of different things. Tarot, crafting, goddess connection, working with moon, magic, everything, all these things. So anyway, the night of the circle came around, and there were 9 of us, and it was the perfect size. And the women who joined Grace and me were amazing. We had an age range. I was the oldest. There were women in their 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and then me. So it was a lovely age range, which I really enjoyed. And these women were so open and willing to share, but not overshare. I don't know, it was just amazing. And I had them pull a tarot card from the Faraxa Tarot at the end. And I thought, that's fairies and fae. And I thought that was perfect for Beltane. So they pulled their cards, and I said, look at your card first. See what you feel like it means to you. What message do you get from it? And then you can look in the guidebook. So we went around, and the sharing was so lovely and so wonderful and so on point. And I thought, this is such a wonderful group. The group that we had a few years ago wasn't at the same level of openness and wanting to build community. These folks, we all want to build community. So I think that's going to be the crux of the circle, building community. And we decided to start with, we will meet on the holidays of the Wheel of the Year. So we'll be meeting again towards the end of June for the summer solstice. So that was really big and really wonderful. And one of the reasons I was attracted to taking this intuitive plant medicine course was because there's some shamanic journeying involved in this course, and journeying to meet up with the plant spirits. And I thought I really want to do some of that work within this circle. So that is that. A friend of me reached out. She has a wellness business she lives in California near San Jose. And she asked me if I would be interested in making up some tea blends for her clients to use during detox. So she has people detox and then start her program. And her ideas are different from my ideas, but I thought, you know what? She does a lot of supplements, and I'm really much more into herbs and plants than supplements. But I thought this will be a nice way to join the 2 practices. So I said, well, I came up with 3 tea blends, and sort of a gentle, a little less gentle, and a little less gentle. And she said, well, that's perfect because the detox period is for 3 weeks. So people can drink 1 tea per week. So I came up, these are the phase 1 support, phase 2, and phase 3. So phase 1 is oats, tulsi, and lemon balm. So that's the most gentle. And then the next level up, phase 2, is nettle, red clover, and mint. And then for phase 3, we have ginger, orange peel, hibiscus. So that's phase 3. So those are the teas I'm going to be making. And folks, they'll be offered on my friend Liz, her name is Liz too, Liz's website. And people can buy them as a bundle as they go through their detox period. And Liz was saying that, she knows that she's supplement heavy and she feels like people get supplement tired or supplement overload. And so she thought having a nice way to create a relaxing experience around making your teas and drinking your teas would be wonderful. So I'm going to make a video so that the folks that buy the teas can watch the video on how to sort of, how to make your tea so that you can extract the most amount of constituents, medicinal healing constituents from the teas, but also how you can sort of do it to create ceremony and ritual and relaxing and centering and grounding as you're going through this process. So that's really exciting. I am very excited about that. And then for plants, so this time of year it's hard to pick one plant because everything is bursting like crazy. So I did drink a lot of nettle spearmint tea this month. The pollen has been incredible to the point where it's been some days almost hard to breathe. And when there's a breeze, you'll just see this yellow blanket flying through the air. I mean, it's brutal, and it's in the house. I have dark countertops, and some days they're just yellow, and I'll wash them off, and an hour later they'll be yellow again. So it's pretty brutal. So anyway, the nettle is really a wonderful herb for helping with allergies. And then I added in the mint for adding just a lovely, palatable, enjoyable flavor to blend with the nettle. Angelica is blooming like crazy. One of my really heart connecting herbs. And this year I'm going to make a flower. In fact, today, because you can see behind me, it's a beautiful, sunny, gorgeous day here on Cape Cod on June 1st. I couldn't ask for a more glorious weather. So I'm going to make my Angelica flower essence. And then rose. So rose, this is Rosa rugosa. So this is my harvest for this morning. Oh my gosh, I wish I could, get the smell to come across in the video. So I am making rose petal elixir. So this is what I got so far. I'll be adding all those petals to this. So this is what it looks like for after a couple of days. But I have a jar from last year. This is what it looks like after it's done infusing. So you can see that the beautiful color from the rose petals and the healing medicinal properties of the rose petals gets extracted into the vegetable glycerin. And so when you take that medicine, that plant medicine, it's very sweet because vegetable glycerin is very sweet. So it's very sweet, but it tastes, so it's sweet and it tastes like how rose smells, if that's a thing. I mean, it's incredible. And I wanted to just show you, let's see, I'll just pick. So can you see, what does this look like to you? The shape of this petal and the color of this petal. So if you had to guess, just from looking at the Rosa rugosa petal, what would your guess be in terms of what organ or what system Rosa rugosa, so beach rose, wild rose, would have an affinity for? What system would you think, or what organ would you think you would want to use that for in terms of healing? And so if you said cardiovascular, heart, you are correct. And so there's this system called the Doctrine of Signatures from the ancient Greeks. I believe that's where it came from. That says plants give us hints about what they are meant to be used for in terms of medicinal healing, by how they grow, where they grow, what color they are, what shape they are. You know, are the leaves smooth and shaped like whatever? Are they fuzzy? Do they grow in a wet, moist area? Do they grow in a dry, hot, area? Do they thrive in that? And so you can deduce from those clues how best to use the plant. And in this case, rose is a heart healing medicine on both the physical and metaphysical. So heart healing in terms of the physical heart and the emotional heart. So I'm very excited that we are on June 1st, but this beautiful Rosa rugosa came into bloom the end of May. So that is leading me now up to decks. And I used a bunch of decks in May, but I thought I'm going to take the top four, 2 Oracle, 2 Tarot that I used the most. And by far, the 2 Tarot decks I used the most were 2 that were new to me one came in the end of April and one came in May. So this one, Gay Masse, by Charlie Claire Burgess. I just love Charlie's work. The Fifth Spirit Tarot, I've had a little over a year now, and until Gay Masse came along, it was one of my top tarot decks, and it will remain one of my top tarot decks. But now for the month of May, I have really been using Gay Masse quite a bit. And it's the first Marseille, Tarot de Marseille style deck that I have ever connected with. And I did my first pull in May, and I thought, ooh, I wonder how this is going to go. I mean, I am familiar with numerology and so the number and the suit and how to, put those two together to get a meaning. But I just wasn't sure if, how that would go. And I mean, this deck, it just jumps out to me what it means and what it's telling me. I adore it. I've never been a fan of the primary colors in the traditional Tarot de Marseille, but I love the color palette in Charlie's deck. Oh, I pulled this card because, well, seeing that I'm of Scottish ancestry, my paternal grandparents were born in Scotland. I love that card. So this is a gorgeous deck, and it brings something really new to Tarot de Marseille. A new color palette, but also an inclusivity and a diversity and a modern take on the TDM. And this guidebook that came along with it is fantastic. I adore this. Again, I love Charlie's writing. The guidebook for the Fifth Spirit is wonderful, and Charlie's book Radical Tarot is wonderful. So I'm a big Charlie Claire Burgess fan and continuing to enjoy their work. So that was one of the tarot. The other tarot that was I used most frequently was one that I got at the beginning of May, and this is the Inner Awakening. It's a Carol Herzer deck, and it is a straight-on traditional Rider-Waite-Smith that Carol has painted herself. and then she laminates it. I mean, it's freaking gorgeous. This is my third Carol Herzer deck. The first one I got a little over maybe 10 or 11 years ago. And it's, I mean, the cardstock she used to use was quite thin, but the one that I've been using for 11 years, it looks brand new. So she said in her email, when you have to email her when you order these decks, I emailed her and she said, oh, you'll be happy to know I've upgraded the cardstock and it's much improved. Well, I hate to tell you, Carol, but I really like your old cardstock much better. This is so thick. Let me show you this deck. It's so thick, and it's a large size deck, and I have small hands. It's so thick. I mean, I have such difficulty shuffling it. But you know what? I make it work. It's gorgeous. So this is a deck. So now I'm moving on to Oracle. So this is Sacred Medicine. It's a Hay House deck by Asha Frost and the art by Steph Littlebird. So these are two Indigenous American women, and I love this deck. It's a Hay House deck. And, you know, sometimes I get a little concerned thinking, ooh, I don't know. But Hay House has changed. And I guess they sold out 2 years ago to a larger publisher. And I feel like ever since that happened, the decks that they make are very different than the decks they used to be kind of well known for. And I'm really liking their decks. The Fifth Spirit by Charlie Claire Burgess is a Hay House. And this lovely deck by Asha and Steph is a Hay House deck. And I love the artwork. I love the guidebook. I love the card. These are the backs. The meanings of the cards. And in the guidebook, I'll show you it. There are meanings of the of each card, an affirmation for each card, and then a sacred ritual or sacred ceremony for each card. And I mean, it's just a lovely, lovely deck, and I think I'm just never going to stop loving it. It's just, it goes so great with Rose. It's very heart healing, and you know, it's gentle but it's not schmaltzy. You know, it's not that love and light schmaltziness that sometimes we used to see in Hay House decks. It's just lovely, and there are cards that are a little bit more hard hitting. But it's just, I don't know, it's just a beautiful deck, and I love it, and I was quite pulled to using it this month. I think I got this deck the end of April. It's the Hecatean Path, Oracle of the Hecatean Path by Ken Payne and Chris Butler. And it is a perfect blend or counterpart to the Sacred Medicine, because it's Hecate, so it's not sweet and gentle. And I am exploring this deck because it is new to me. And towards the end of the month, I went more with Sacred Path because I felt a little need for a little bit more gentleness. But at the beginning of the month, I was using this deck. The artwork is not my normal style that I'm attracted to, but I'm finding that I like it quite a bit. And oh, it's fabulous. I love it, and it's really helping me in my exploration and connection to Hecate. So the cards, there are 3 different types of cards. a card that is an aspect of Hecate, a card that speaks about like the path of Hecate, and then there are 12 or 14 deities, Greek deities that sort of intertwine with the Hecatean path or Hecatean story. So it's really wonderful, and I'm enjoying that quite a bit. Now, last but not least, is a deck that was new to me this month. This is the only deck, and you know, since I did my culling, I'm really trying hard to be mindful and intentional. I'm not saying I'm never getting new decks, because that's just not true. I am. But I'm trying to make sure that any deck I bring in, I'm feeling mindful and intentional about. Rather than watch a video about a deck and go, boom, order it, and then get it and think, really? Am I going to use this? Anyway, this is the deck. It's called Black Tarot, and it is it's called Black Tarot, an Ancestral Awakening Tarot by Nyasha, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, Nyasha Williams and Kamishka Nadu. And Kamishka does the illustrations. So I wasn't sure if this would be a deck for me or not. Oh my gosh, as soon as I started looking at the guidebook, I thought, this is great. So this is Nyasha's sort of intro. I have been interested in tarot, astrology, and magic from the moment I was able to read chapter books. Harry Potter, Ella Enchanted, and Artemis Fowl were favorites on my bookshelf. I have always dreamed of being a mermaid, so it's no surprise that water is my element. I like to believe that my ancestors, who were ripped from their homeland and shackled as cargo to a boat, who didn't make it ashore, transformed in their final breath to merfolk, gaining the power of the very element that swallowed them whole. My spirituality has developed and evolved through unlearning and learning, decolonizing my mind and spirituality. I have been learning to embrace traditional spiritual practices that were taken from BIPOC communities, tribes, and groups. Many of our long-established spiritual practices have been demonized through colonization, the media, Hollywood, white supremacy, and under the guise of Christianity. We have significant work to do as a world to untrain ourselves, our minds, actions, and habits from the lies and propaganda we have been fed for generations by those who currently hold power at the top. And so these are things that I have been thinking about, talking about, working on myself, unlearning, unprogramming, and trying to look at the world through a different lens. I was recently in Plymouth, Massachusetts, which is, you know, where the big American myth came from. I was on a march for a pro-abortion women's bodies, women's rights march. And as we were walking through the town of Plymouth, I kept seeing these plaques about really all this bullshit about, you know, the pilgrims and, you know, the natives and the this and that. And I thought to myself, why did my teachers teach me this? You know, I know now that it's bullshit. Why did my teachers teach me this? And I was like, oh, because their teachers taught them, and their teachers taught them, and their teachers taught them. And so, like Nyasha says, it's time to break that cycle. It's time for us to look at what is real and what is fake, and what has been fed to us to keep the status quo in place. And so I think this deck is going to be a beautiful tool for that. Let me just show you a few of the cards. These are the backs. So we see, I'm going to do it this way. So baskets are cups, wands are wands. Here's the lovers. The majors all have the traditional names. Coins are pentacles. I love this. I love the artwork. I love, so the courts are, this is the Daughter of Wands. The courts are fathers, mothers, daughters, sons, and with the daughters being knights and the sons being pages. It's just beautiful artwork involved. You can see the elements are represented. All of the elements are represented in most of the majors. Water is represented in every major and in many of the minors as well, because as Nyasha said, that is her element. Also, cycles of the moon play a role in this deck, and that's addressed in the guidebook. Knives are swords. And again, here's the Chariot. You can see the water and the cycles of the moon. It's just a lovely deck. I just got it 2 days ago, so I have not even used it. I've been reading the guidebook and trying to kind of get familiar with this. Look at this, Son of Baskets. Beautiful. It's just, I'm really excited about this deck. And anyway, in my June roundup or recap, I will be telling you more about that deck. So this went quite a bit longer than I thought it would. You know, I just have this tendency to ramble. And, you know, if you've made it to the end, yay you, thank you. So anyway, I hope that your month of May was wonderful. And as we, in the Northern Hemisphere anyway, jump into the beautiful month of June. I'm sure June is lovely in the Southern Hemisphere too. I don't know. I have never experienced the Southern Hemisphere, so maybe someday. But anyway, right now, everything is bursting forth. It's so expansive. My heart is just opening, and the plant spirits are back again, and I couldn't be happier. So blessings to you. Peace and love, my friends.